Take a moment and close your eyes. Picture waking up tomorrow in a world where you can't search for information, can't reach anyone instantly, can't watch clips, and can't post your thoughts online with a single tap. No social networks, no video platforms, no buying things online, no navigation apps guiding you through unknown roads. Everything you're used to, everything that feels normal today, vanishes overnight. Now open your eyes, because we're about to enter that reality. A world that never experienced the internet. A world that sounds unimaginable now, yet one where millions of people lived their whole lives. This isn't only about losing your favorite apps or sites. It's about a totally different human world, different systems of money, different conflicts, different connections between people, different ways of understanding life. Today, we're asking one of the biggest questions of the modern age. What if the internet had never existed? And the answer might be far more disturbing than you realize. Imagine a morning in this alternate reality. It's the year 2025, but it feels nothing like the world you recognize. Your alarm goes off, a real alarm clock. A mechanical ring, not a notification from a phone. You reach over, not toward a bright screen, but just to shut off the sound. The first thing you don't do is scroll through texts or check what's popular online. The first thing you do is simply be, in calm, in silence, in a kind of aloneness that modern life has nearly erased. You get out of bed and walk to your front door. Waiting there is a newspaper, heavy, stained with ink, packed with news from the day before. That's how information travels in this world. Not instantly, but through printing machines and delivery routes. The articles were written yesterday, reviewed yesterday, and selected because they deserved space on pages where space is limited. There's no link to click for more detail, no comment section to read, no instant fact check. You read the story, and you either believe it or you question. As your coffee finishes brewing, you turn the pages, and time feels slower. Not worse, exactly, just unhurried. The anxiety of missing out doesn't exist because everyone is missing out all the time. There's no overwhelming flow of information, no endless stream of global disaster celebrations and opinions. Your world feels small. You're surrounded. The people in your life are the ones you physically count. When you need to contact someone, you use a phone mounted on you dial a number from memory because there's no digital address. If they aren't home, you don't leave a message on a mobile phone. You call again later, or you write a letter. Actual handwriting, paper fold into an envelope, delivered across city countries by the post system. Communication is deliberate. It takes work. It requires attention. If you want to learn something, you go to the library. A bill-lined book, sorted by subject, overseen by librarian. This world's version of search engine. You can't type a question and receive hundreds of answers instantly. You ask a person, they guide you to the shelf. You lift heavy book. You read. Learning is hands-on. It's slow-moving. It demands patience and concentration ways modern life rarely does. Relationships are different as well. You can't swipe through faces on a screen. You meet people through work, social events, shared friends, or not at all. Long-distance relationships are true tests of loyalty, held together by costly phone call, handwritten letters that take weeks to arrive. Love has to endure silence and distance. There's no constant message, no video call to shrink the gap. You either stay committed to being apart or you let it fade. Entertainment comes from TV, radio, movie theater, and live concert venues. You don't select from end options. You watch whatever's on. You listen to whatever's being played. Culture is collect because everyone consumes the same limited material. The modern splitting of taste, where everyone lives inside their own tiny niche, doesn't exist. People come together around the same show, the same music, the same shared moment, because there are fewer options available. This world is shaped by limits, by boundaries of time, distance, and access. And still, billions of people live rich lives within it. They laugh, they love, they create, they imagine. They just do everything in a different way, more slowly, closer to home, with patience as the natural fault. But let's take further. Without the internet, how does technology actually progress? Because the internet wasn't only a communication method, it became the foundation of modern innovation. It linked researchers across the world, allowing them to collaborate. It offered immediate access to academic papers, large data sets, and humanity's shared knowledge. Without it, the pace of discovery, television ads, radio promotions, print ads in magazines and newspapers. Advertisers target broad audiences, not specific individuals. They throw wide nets, hoping to reach potential customers. It's less precise, more costly, and much less intrusive. Personal privacy isn't something that can be sold because the data to monetize it simply doesn't exist. Small businesses deal with a different reality. Without websites, social platforms, or online marketplaces, reaching customers requires personal effort, word of mouth, local ads, years spent building a solid reputation. Growing beyond your local area is expensive and slow, demanding physical expansion, traditional marketing, and distribution systems. Competition stays regional. Small shops compete with nearby businesses, not global corporations powered by optimized logistics. Banking and finance are handled in person and on paper. You go to your bank branch to deposit money, transfer funds, and talk directly to staff. Credit cards exist, but without online commerce, fraud takes a different form. Identity theft is more difficult due to the lack of digital data. Financial markets still operate, but without automated trading or instant information, movement is slower. Sudden crashes don't occur. The system is steadier, but also less open and less accessible to the average person. Wealth and power are concentrated in different places. In our world, the internet created a new class of billionaires, young entrepreneurs who built empires quickly. In a world without the internet, wealth stays tied to traditional sectors, industry, resources, retail, and property. Established powers remain dominant for longer. Climbing the social ladder is harder because disruptive tools are missing. At the same time, winner-take-all markets are less common. Without network effects that push one platform to dominate everything, industries remain divided. Regional businesses succeed within their own areas. Local culture, preferences, and companies have room to exist. Global consumer uniformity spreads slowly, or maybe never fully takes hold. This economy is steadier, more foreseeable, and less volatile. It produces fewer sudden success stories and fewer dramatic collapses. It's a system where patience pays off, trust grows over time, and reputation matters more than algorithm. Whether that's an improvement or a drawback depends entirely on your position within it. Politics in a world without the internet turns into a strange and risky game. Information equals power, and in this reality, information travels through narrow, carefully managed paths. Governments and major media corporations serve as gatekeepers, deciding what people learn and when they learn. Propaganda becomes easier to maintain. Without access to alternative viewpoints, without instant fact-check, and without direct peer-to-peer sharing, the official narrative carries far more in. When the state controls television networks, newspapers, and radio stations, it largely controls how reality is perceived. Opposition movements struggle to organize. Whistleblowers have very limited options. Leaking information requires physical documents, passed from person to person, with constant risk of exposure. Yet there's a contradiction here. Surveillance is more difficult. Without digital messages to monitor, without online histories to examine, without social media activity to follow, governments have less insight into people's private lives and thoughts. The data-driven surveillance systems of our world can't fully develop. In many ways, privacy is stronger by default, simply because daily life happens offline. Global politics operate with more uncertainty and delay. When a crisis erupts somewhere, other nations hear about it through official briefing, news agencies, and diplomatic communication channels that can be delayed, filtered, or manipulated. Public opinion is shaped by what authorities and media decide to reveal. There are no viral clips of violence forcing immediate international reaction, no cross-border activist movements coordinated through social platforms. Activism moves slower, remains local, and is easier to shut down. War looks different in this. Military communication relies on radio transmissions, phone lines, and messengers. Managing armies across long distances is slower and more error-prone. Intelligence depends on human agents, intercepted signal, and satellite photos analyzed manually. Drone-guided precision strikes don't exist. Cyber warfare isn't even imagined. Combat is more conventional and in some ways harsher because technology technology hasn't created distance between violence and those who carry it out. The shared global awareness we take for granted today, the sense that everyone is watching the same events unfold together, is missing. When disaster hits a faraway nation, you may read about it days later in print, if you hear about it at all. Other people's suffering feels distant and abstract, making it easier to ignore. Humanitarian response is slower because awareness spreads slowly, concern develops slowly, and action follows slowly. There is also less political polarization in certain respects. Without recommendation algorithms pushing extreme views, without echo chambers reinforcing every belief, without conspiracy theories spreading instantly worldwide, political discussion stays grounded in physical spaces, communities, meetings, and face-to-face conversations where nuance can exist. Disagreements still happen, but the non-stop online hostility between strangers over every issue doesn't exist in the same form. Elections are fought through TV debates, printed advertisements, and live campaign events. Politicians gain influence through established parties and institutional endorsements. Political outsiders face higher barriers. The system becomes more stable, more predictable, and less vulnerable to sudden disruption. Whether that stability is a strength or a flaw depends on whether you trust the system or believe it needs to be overturned. This world is protected from some dangers and exposed to others. Terrorism is harder to organize but easier to hide. Wars are less common but more violent. Official information feels more reliable but is also more tightly controlled. Freedom exists through reduced surveillance, yet it's constrained by limited access to information. It's a world of compromises where every gain comes with a price. But maybe the most important question isn't about technology, politics, or the economy. Maybe it's about who we are, about the human mind and spirit. In a world without non-stop connection, attention spans in this reality work differently. When entertainment isn't competing for every moment of your focus, when notifications and endless content aren't constantly pulling at you, the mind learns to slow down and engage more deeply. People read full books in one sitting. They watch entire movies without reaching for a phone. Conversations happen without interruption, without someone mentally drifting away to check message. Boredom is ordinary. It's even appreciated as a space where imagination and self-reflection can exist. Loneliness still exists, but it takes a different form. Without social media displaying curated highlights of other people's lives, without the false sense of connection created by screens, loneliness is more genuine and more acknowledged. You're either with others or you're alone. There's no gray area of being together while scrolling side by side, physically present, mentally absent. Relationships require purpose. Friendships require work. You can't casually maintain dozens of shallow connections. You decide who matters and put real energy into those relationships. Mental health appears different as well. The stress of constant comparison, of watching others succeed in real time, of maintaining an online image doesn't exist. But depression, isolation, and trauma remain, and the support systems are fewer, more stigmatized, and harder to access. There are no anonymous online communities sharing personal struggles, no mental health apps, no therapy sessions through a screen. Help comes from in-person professional, face-to-face support, or sometimes nowhere at all. Creativity thrives and suffers at the same time. Artists have fewer tools, but possibly greater concentration. Musicians create albums over years, not weeks, because they're not racing against endless daily up. Writers craft books assuming readers will stay focused for long periods. Filmmakers take creative chances because they're not chasing algorithms, but control is tighter. If you aren't signed, published, or backed by a studio, your work may never be seen. Talent without connections often remains hidden. Fame is rarer and more meaningful. You can't be famous simply for existing. You can't build a career on personality alone. Recognition comes from real accomplishment in film, music, sport, or politics. And once famous, you're more removed from everyday people. No one messages their favorite actor direct. No one feels a personal bond with athletes. Famous people are symbols, not companions, separated by distance and inaccessibility. Culture is more unified, but also less varied. Without the internet splitting audiences into countless niche niches, mainstream culture dominates. There are fewer subcultures because there's less opportunity for like